start the tour if it's alright. Am I alright to get a photo of us all together? Is that okay? When I go on these tours, to be fair, I don't like having my photo taken, so if you don't want the photo attached, I won't be offended if you just kind of just cover your head. Is that okay? Yeah. Cool, alright. I'll try and get some selfies. Since the tour's about minutes like spread out today, I'll probably have to do two. I think you knocked out the photo. Okay, so after three, shout Stintos! And all really, really happy. 3, 2, 1. Stinto! Great, and I'm holding it as well. 3, 2, 1. Stinto! Music stopped. Good work, thank you. Keep trying. It's not started. But it has started. Who works in cash, has 2 phones, finds their custom on street corners and are prone to turf wars? Drug dealers, prostitutes, you beat me to it, and tour guides. 6 years ago, and it's raining. The rain has a strange way of making Sackville Gardens beautiful. There's a statue of Alan Turing who's contemplating his unbitten apple, facing unmaintained flower bed, and a warehouse that doesn't know it's about to be converted. I'm waiting next to Alan Turing for someone to turn up. Maybe today, maybe someone will come to do the tour. It's 11:05, and there, next to Alan, a man sits down. Drops dripping from the latex of his gimp suit. You're getting a kick out of this. I'm not making this up, by the way. All the stories I'm about to tell you are true. He really was the first ever prospective customer of free Manchester walking tours. You all right? He says. Am I all right? I decided I might not be the right person to be honest with. People often ask me how I got to start the tours. I was in a Stoke-on-Trent train station coffee shop, feeling lost. An email. Government-sponsored business starter loans. Why not? Within an hour, I scrabbled together an application. I would like to open a boutique cinema in Manchester's Northern Quarter. Thought nothing again of it until months later I wake up to £9,000 in the bank account, which is a lot of money. It's not enough money to open a boutique cinema in Manchester's Northern Quarter. Young heterosexual couples, they might attempt to save their relationship by adopting a puppy. My ex and I took trains around Europe, and in each city we did one of these free tours. Returned to Manchester disappointed that there wasn't one here. Wasn't long after that I was sacked from Virgin Trains. Well, no, sorry, not sacked. You can't be sacked from a 0 hours contract. They just stop offering you work. But then I couldn't get job seekers allowance, not until Virgin Trains wrote a letter to the job centre to confirm no longer offering me work. Walking Manchester alone, feeling like life had taken me for a ride. I imagine where I'd go if I was doing one of those free tours, but in Manchester. I'd have to start with Gay Village. Yeah, I'd have to start with Alan. And there's the Vinto Monument, on account of having sheltered there after one fabled night out. And the New Union Hotel, Manchester's oldest gable, and my first proper job. I'd not had neither experience. I was just 18 and blonde. I read books on Manchester, politics, music, history, and architecture, and sitting on the steps of the Royal Exchange Theatre, I stitched together a script for a tour. The first proper tour, the first actual tour to an actual person, 6 years ago, I turned to the copper incarnation of Alan and say, and that's our first guest. And that's my friend Derek. I was nervous at first. Who am I to tell the story of Manchester, my hometown, though I'm actually from Bolton. And eventually, I'm starting going, welcome to Free Manchester Walking Tours. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of Manchester! Industrialised city! Soon enough, we're knee-deep in the university's alumni. There's James Prescott Joule, and there's Ernest Rutherford, and me. It's a secret nuclear bunker. Oh, you already knew about it? Yeah. The Haskender. It was actually opened by Bernard Manning. The town hall. It's a town hall. The Midland Hotel, where Rolls met Royce. Where Posh met Bet, where two became one. It's also the site of the Peacefully Massacre. 18 murders. Up to level 15, it just depends who you ask, really. On the 15th of June 1996, the IRA did Manchester a favour. 3 hours later, and it's over. I'm looking at Derek Hopeful. The tours are called Free Manchester Walking Tours, and they are free. Officially, they're free. If anyone hears from the advertising standards, the tour is free. And whilst there's no pressure to tip, Derek turns to me and says, do you fancy a pint? I've got a few pointers. It was a few tours later, and I thought they were just another couple in love. I won't use their real names. Let's call them Man 1 and Man 2. What brings you to Manchester? Oh, we're local, actually. Done these tours before in other cities. Never thought to do one on our own. Probably the most common answer after football games, concerts, backpacking England. I'm wittering on like I do, and I notice they're scribbling on a notepad, acoustic words. After the tour, Josh, come for a coffee with us. I'd anaesthetised the night before in a bottle of gin on account of my late granddad's house. I contracted a stubborn case of fleas. I wasn't keen for coffee. Josh, come for a coffee on us. It's the upstairs of a cramped, crowded Nero. Thanks for the coffee, by the way. What is it you two do? Oh, we're tax inspectors for HMRC. Oh, right. What kind of things do you inspect? Oh, fish and chip shops, barbers, anywhere that works with cash, really. Oh, right, so you go, say, visit a business that works with cash, say, at 11 a.m. on a Saturday, and then compare it with other 11 a.m.s on a Saturday, and see if they're not declaring anything. That conversation felt a bit like the tide at Morecambe. I'd only just started the tours. I'd not thought carefully about them. They were just something to earn beer money on a hangover. Oh, no. Oh, don't worry, Josh. We want you to run a tour for us. It's a charity weekend. The Manchester Rugby Men. We're a group of guys that get together once a year and, well, wear rubber. I didn't run a tour for them anyway. The fact they were tax inspectors sealed the deal. People surprise you, don't they? That's what's kept me doing the tours for so long. There's only one time since Derek I've done the tour for just one person. 3 hours is a long time for them to spend with me, as much as me with them. It's Carleen. Magical Carleen. Her opening gambit was to tell me she's bipolar. She once ran naked from Euston to St. Paul's, declaring herself the Messiah, and now she's not allowed to leave the country. She visits various English shitholes and pretends we're on par with Prague or Paris, and this time, it's Manchester. After the tour, we go out and dance until the early hours. I don't hear from her again. Until a year later, I get a phone call. Josh, it's Carleen. I'm on holiday in Hull. Is everything okay? Josh, I'm on holiday in Hull. Look, I've just got to the hotel room. It's a spare bed. Did you want to join? I did. So I went. We did a walking tour, visited a church, did a tour. We fed penguins in the aquarium. We now keep in touch mostly by letters. When you used to get to feeling alone, as if by magic, she'd ring me up. She'd say, "That's Josh, because I am magic." Noel Gallagher has been on the tour. Twice. Sort of. Not really. What brings you to Manchester? Oh, I'm a bassist for the band, yeah, tour in England. High Flying Birds? Oh, right. Have you done anything I know? Oh, well, the full name is Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds. Later in the tour, I'm saying, "This is Asia House, where Noel Gallagher used to live." The bassist picks up his phone, and the group listen in as Noel faintly says, "Dilliac, I live next door in India House." After that, I'd say, "And this is India House, where Noel Gallagher used to live." Until one day, outside India House, on the corner, is Noel Gallagher. I have a group of 70 plus that each ask for a selfie, and to be fair, he graciously obliges. Until his documentary team told us to fuck off. Another tour, we were behind Asia House, looking down at the River Medlock. An Irish lady's taking a picture when, "Oopsie daisy." "What?" "Just dropped my phone in the river, haven't I?" It had been the latest iPhone at the time. "Well, what are you going to do?" "Oh, I'll have to make mental images instead." About the phone. Over the weeks to follow, I'd watch as the phone is slowly pushed downstream until it's... Still today I look down at the Medlock stop at the phone's absence. Group of women from the Dominican Republic. Fabulously dressed, but freezing their tits off. We're crossing Charles Street and a van comes an inch from mowing them over. A man comes out of the van and starts shouting at them. They don't speak a word of English, so they simply choose to smile at him as if he's part of the tour. "They're on a walking tour of Manchester, mate. Let's show them a Manchester spirit." "You want the Manchester spirit?" And he punches me in the neck. I turn to face 50 punters' jaws drop south. "Oh well, the show must go on." Tips were no better that day. There's a man and a woman huddled under an umbrella, telling me they're here to see more of Manchester. Now, I can tell, but by the way the guy's looking, he's one of us. Also, they knew dates most laymen wouldn't. So I went on the council's tour site and found out it was them. Emma Fox and John Ryan. So later in the tour, when someone says, "Excuse me, when exactly was the town hall opened?" Decides to unmask Emma. "Why don't you take this question, Emma, seeing as you are a guide for the council's tour?" And she's dead nice about the tour. Both dead nice about it. She said she's just worried. You know, what with all the free tours starting in Manchester. Oh, no. We're the only free tour in Manchester. She doesn't look so sure. The Vimto Monument has always been my favourite stop. Have some of you seen it before? Yeah? So it's on Granby Road, just by the northern campus of the university. 1992. I always find it kind of funny, like, it took us until, 2018 to get our first statue of a non-mythical, non-royal woman. And yet we had 2018, but we had a fruit drink in 1992. It was a competition. Well, it was meant to be a competition where people from the university would submit design proposals, and then they gave the students of the university the chance to vote. As we've discovered, like in recent times, giving people the vote sometimes leads to like, unexpected and unanticipated consequences. I love it. I think it's got like a real kind of charm to it. About 3 or 4 years after starting the tour, I met the designer, Kerry Morrison. I was so excited to meet her. It was an art gallery in Bury. Jess actually introduced me to her. And she just said, oh, well, I don't really like it myself. They do say never meet your heroes. It makes people smile, doesn't it? I'm telling people about Vinto Monument, just like I did then. When I hear a man say more or less the same thing to a different group. It's only after a Google dive I find it's him. Ivo Delimondo Riviera. That's not how you pronounce his name, but it's the best way to make him sound like a Bond villain. Get to the next stop, Factory Records, and he's saying something suspiciously similar. Turns out the second free tour in town is very much like the first. And I recognise his face. He'd been on my tour before. So I thought, right, okay, well, I'll book onto his tour. Just to talk to. I'll say, yes, it's unfair. No, actually, it's lazy. So I booked onto his tour. I'm at his meeting point in Piccadilly Gardens in torrential rain. A message came through. We have a policy of not allowing competing guides onto our tour from fear of being copied. So the next time we're both at the Vinto Monument, I'm saying, Ivo, could you work on your timings a little? Yeah, I'm always here at this time. It feels almost like you want to clash. Calm down, Josh, calm down, calm down. I send him an email apologising, saying maybe we should meet for coffee. Ivo replies, I will not meet with people who make circuses. You are of a different class and education to me. Now I'm mad. Oh, look, everyone. Ivo's got to the Vinto Monument before us. Let's all stand in front of his group, just like this. Ivo moves his group in front of ours. Okay, even if you can't see the Vinto Monument, I will make sure the only voice you can hear is mine. Ivo buys a microphone and an amplifier. My numbers start to dwindle. Whatever. I start thinking about what else I might do. Maybe Virgin Trains would start offering me work again. My boyfriend Robert slaps me awake. He says, these are your stories, aren't they? Homelessness, Peterloo, started by Alan Shorey. What right does some Spanish bloke have to them? Yeah, well, the thing is, it doesn't matter. He's got his webpage, the top of Google, and that's that. You need to grow up and start treating this as a business. Run every day, get guides, get a webpage. Design and distribute leaflets right to all the northern quarter. Yeah. It's game on. Yeah, and as for the stories, forget your Manchester. You need to tell the Manchester people what to hear. I was at my Uncle Ted's funeral the year before last. I ended up on a table with relatives I hadn't seen since I was in nappies, all talking tall and tawdry. My Auntie Jean had just quit the teaching profession. She was telling me about how kids would heckle her. I thought, yeah, great, this is my moment. Interrupt with a good story from the tour. Go through the possibilities. There's the most common. It's all lies! One time in Chinatown, of a group under the Imperial Arch, and a man approaches us. We'd assumed homeless. The guy comes up to him and asks, "Is this a tour of Manchester?" So we say, "It is, because it is." He then goes through the group and asks where everyone's from, before responding in their home languages. Yeah, French, Polish, Italian. He walks off laughing. "Oh, I bet you didn't expect that." For reasons unknown, Peter Street is a heckler hotbed. In 1976, the Sex Pistols. Where is the conference centre? Manners cost nothing. It's just behind Theatre Royale. Yeah, down that street there. The devil is inside of you. Well, as you change your ways, you shall rot in hell for eternity. There was a Christian conference on that day. With a regular heckler, yeah. A famous Manchester alcoholic will come up and ask us for a Johnny Cash song. You can do any of them. Word perfect. And then I think the one that trumped all. The time I was running a tour for the Manchester Bears. See, after the Rubbermen, other fetish communities wanted in on a tour. If you don't know, Bears are the larger, hairier, older gay gentlemen. And their winter event is called Hibernation. It was the Bears' Hibernation winter event. And there's this lad sat down next to Alan Turing, downing Pimm's. I'd only just started and my Uncle Barry interrupted me. "Pimm's? Did he have fruit with it?" Good question. I'm not too sure, but I think it was Aldi's own brand Pimm's. So this lad with the Aldi's own brand Pimm's, he asks if he can join the tour, but the chief bear says, "Sorry, it's a private tour." The lad with the Aldi own brand Pimm's, he said, "It's a public space. I'm allowed to sit and listen." So I kept going regardless and do this big historical speech, and this lad keeps shouting, "Talk about the Irish! Talk about the Irish!" Jean chips in, "My parents are Irish." Oh right, well I don't think the lad was Irish himself. So I'd take the executive decision to move on to the next stop. That usually dissuades the clingers and the drinkers. Very similar techniques you have to employ whilst teaching, yeah. I remember a time when, exactly Jean, that's what I'm saying. So we move on to the next stop, which is the university. And it's there, the auntie says, "Are you a bunch of faggots?" "A group of what?" You know, the insult, being gay people. "Oh, is it foreign?" We used to say queer. "Or puff." I'm not too sure where it's from, not exactly, no, but it matters. Truth is, a lot of gay men, they don't flinch at the word, they were used to it. Ha ha. So we're at the university, and once again he's annoyed they're listening to me and not to him. So I'm talking about cotton, and he interrupts and says, "Did you know cotton was picked by a bunch of..." This group of white guys can't really stand by. Also, this lad's small and skinny and drunk, obviously, and the Bears, they're fucking huge. F-bomb sends Auntie Jean's eyebrows through the roof. The Bears turn to face him and he freezes. Until the next stop, the Vimto Monument. Now to get their attention, he declares himself bisexual. Saying it wasn't enough, he got his penis out and started windmilling it. Windmilling? Yeah, you know when you get your penis out and you spin it so it's a bit like a windmill. Yeah, so he's windmilling his penis and his bears turn away from the penis. I'm trying to ignore it in my peripheral. And that's when the Aldi's own brand Pimm's makes its exit all over the Vimto Monument. As I've got them hooked, I decide to add slightly fabricated coda. Yeah. And that's when a little girl ran over, fascinated by the weird man. Yeah. And a mum as well. She was running to try and stop the daughter seeing what she shouldn't. I stopped the story there. There was more to it. What happened was the police came over, just as he was finishing his week, asked him why he causing trouble again. The lad suddenly looked really sad and said, "I just wanted to make friends." I don't tell that bit. I realised in their faces that maybe Uncle Ted's funeral wasn't the best place to have told. I should have chosen a different story, or, better still, kept quiet. I do get some polite nods. "Oh, I love Vimto. Yeah, it reminds me of my childhood. I tried to move the subject on. Yeah, actually, over the last 3 or 4 years, I must have spent about £3,000 on Vinto. Which is true, by the way. When first starting the tours, I was terrified of not telling the truth. Eventually, you become so confident that if someone says, "Excuse me, John Edward Taylor founded the Manchester Guardian newspaper, not James Edward." You say, "Oh right, towel for that." No one gives a shit, not really. It's not the point, is it? And then you get so confident you start lying. Well, no. You don't lie, you sort of just make stories. I used to say, "Yeah, Theatre Royal, can you see the statue of Shakespeare? They finished building it, they had some leftover stone, so they asked the apprentice to do something with it, and that's why it's so bad." I said that so many times, I started to believe it myself. So it worked, I suppose. There's a sculpture outside the Bridgewater Hall. You might have seen it. It's called the Ashinki Touchstone. It cost £200,000 of Arts Council funding. I wanted to give it meaning. Yeah, I wanted to make it feel like it was more than a pebble. So I'd say to groups, it's a healing pebble. I'd say, everyone close your eyes. No, really. So everyone close your eyes, all together. Close your eyes and just imagine you're there by the healing pebble, touching it. And now, all together, breathe in, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, breathe out. Breathe in, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, and then let it out. And again, breathe in, 2, 3, hold, 2, 3, and out. And now open your eyes. Do you feel that? I did that until the day an American woman opened her eyes and she was crying. She said, "I feel better, Josh. I've let it all go." So, I didn't do that again. It's a lie. Some people, when they're drunk or they're sad, or they're both, they go online and check their ex's social media profiles. I don't. I go on TripAdvisor and check my reviews. We had been the #1 tour in Manchester for 3 years. No negative reviews. That is until Ivo Delimondo Riviera's tour started. So it started with a questionable 3-star that said, "This tour is long and boring." Alright, yeah. 3 hours is a little bit long, perhaps. It is always raining. Right? But you'd not go to Iceland and complain about the cold. It doesn't cover all of Manchester, it needs to mention Northern Seoul. I mean, that's more of a kind of Stoke and Wigan thing, and I'm not doing the tour of Stoke. I had to leave before the end. You start to question why someone's gone out of their way to write that. It was the first Christmas morning with my boyfriend Robert, and I got the first 1-star review. It said, "Josh thinks he invented free tours. He thinks he owns them. The tour is okay, but nothing special. I had to leave halfway through." That tour sent us to #2 on TripAdvisor. Evo's tour became Christmas #1 and extra time. As if that wasn't enough, Evo sends me a Christmas present half an hour later. An email. "Attach the pictures of all your marketing material that states you are #1. Please make amends within 24 hours or I shall be contacting my legal team." Salford mum's called Sandra. they don't take well to their sons being wronged. She wrote this tour an email, a review. She said, did this tour a few weeks ago, it was okay, but I was disappointed. It just copied a different tour of Manchester I went on last year. So Evo emailed my mum and said, calling someone fat does not make you skinny. Turns out Evo is a fan of Mean Girls too then. Another email. I enjoyed the tour. Thanks. Yeah, but I think some of the language needs thinking about. Right. Go on. Yeah, prostitute. You should really use the term sex worker. Oh, and slaves. It's kind of offensive. You should really be saying enslaved people. All right. Yeah, and LGBT. You could also say LGBT plus. Right, yeah, cool. Yeah, whatever. Start talking to Jez about it, my boyfriend, my mum, the machine, anyone willing to listen. I'd say, shouldn't you know the tour's political? Yeah, you know, I'm trying to challenge people's worldviews, aren't I? For example, with James Anderton, right? You could say James Anderton's a bit of a knob, but you wouldn't. Not at all. No, what you do is you say, James Anderton once said that people with AIDS were swimming in a cesspool of their own making. He violently acted on a Victorian law that prohibited men from dancing with each other provocatively. Man pipes up. You weren't there. I was serving in the forces at the time. We were just doing what we thought was right. Right? So why are you criticising him? I'm not. I'm just telling you what he said. I felt a bit like the time travel agency booked me to do a tour of a group of German engineers and then told me not to talk about the war. The man storms off, but I don't care because, as I said, I'm trying to challenge people's worldviews. I'm trying to inflict my worldview, perhaps. Yeah, it's a privilege, isn't it? It's a privilege to be worried with words rather than life. She's probably the sort that refers to TikTok videos and tweets as discourse. She's right, though. Am I getting old? Outdated? 3 days unable to reply, to realise I was worked up because she is right. Just last month, I did a tour and I was telling the story of the Peterloo massacre. 18 murdered, hundreds injured, journalists arrested, simply gathering together to peacefully demand the vote. There's a lady up front, as I'm telling the story, she doesn't blink. Even as she sobs, she doesn't blink. In fact, she tells me, carry on. Between stops, I find out she's from Hong Kong. She was a journalist with the Apple Daily newspaper, just as it had been closed down by the Chinese state. All her colleagues were arrested. She managed to escape just in time, and now she's unsure if her family are safe. She says to me, I swear down, she said, Peterloo, that is my story. She sends me a text that evening. The text said, stories offer valuable lessons in the present time. They are gifts to people in the darkness. All the brave souls will never be forgotten. They still inspire us and lighting hope in the darkness. Peterloo's hers. I don't know if any of you have seen this. So the Lemon Walls, they originally started in Prague, and it was sort of where people put graffiti of Beatles or John Lennon-inspired lyrics. Well, then it was used by the democracy movement in Hong Kong. It's about 250 all around Hong Kong, where you kind of sign it with sort of democratic sentiments. And yeah, this one's in Manchester, in the northern quarter. I've been gifted so many stories on the tour. Take this. Irish mother, Portuguese father. She's pregnant, he's not. I would ask them why they're here, but I'm running late, and so is she by a couple of days. We're on Granby Road when she turns to her partner and says, "It's happened!" He's got a taxi there in seconds. They head to the hospital and deliver their baby. And guess what they called him?
Hello?
Josh.
Colm, I think. I can't quite remember, but I did see them a few months afterwards, and they all looked really happy. Uruguayan family. They're the family of the captain of the Uruguayan rugby team, Felipe Berkezi. Uruguay is the worst rugby team on earth. They don't speak a great deal of English, but I do the whole tour just as I would, given the usual weight, the usual punchlines. The mother, she knows a couple of words. The lapwing is one of them. The national bird of Uruguay. She forces her son's rugby top on me and also gives me a Uruguayan flag to wave through town. She shows me a picture of her son and says, "He is handsome, no?" I tried not to look too keen. Felipe Berkezi, right? Google him afterwards. He's something. Yeah, he is. You do not look like him. No, I don't. She then points to the top I was wearing after the tour and says, "Off, it's tonight." I watched the game. Uruguay scored 1 try against England. And who else scored? Bloody Felipe Berkezi. Sackville Gardens. A woman comes up to me and asks, "Which do you think is the biggest tree?" I look at Alan as if to see if he knows. Maybe the one behind the statue. Is everything okay? No. My uncle's ashes were stolen from my house last night. I think it was my gran who stole them. Gran wanted his ashes to be buried by the biggest tree in Sackville Gardens, but I don't think he would have wanted that. Oh, right. Well, it's not a big garden, so if you just start at the far side and make your way up and down, maybe you'll find some upturned soil. She looked at the ashes, and I start the tour. I say that 4 Manchesters have existed, and today we will talk about Manchester 3 and a Manchester. I found him! She's screaming, she's waving her arms about, pointing down at the tree before turning to my group and asking, "Does anyone have a spoon?" She had a Tupperware box, but nothing to scoop him up with. "Oh, don't worry, I'll just use my hands." She scooped most of her uncle up, takes a leave before turning to say, "Thanks, Josh." I'm hungover. Again. I've been out 2-stepping next to men I know who are snogging men that I don't. Thankfully, I bumped into a friend from school, Broughton. I'm doing the pre-tour rounds, and there's a middle-aged couple with a man about my age. I was kind of thrown by his eyes, unable to work out what colour they were. Does anyone think love at first sight really exists? Or is it kind of just a rush of wishful delusions? What brings you to Manchester? He tells me he found out about the tour from his friend, Broughton. He was meant to be running the race, but got injured. So I start the tour. I say that 5 Manchesters have... No. I say that Manchester has existed. No. My lines are leaking, even though I've done the tour so many times. When I can't sleep, it goes round and round in my head. I text Broughton afterwards and say, your friend is intimidatingly fit. The exact same moment, Rob does the same thing. Broughton's too hungover to be playing Cupid, so she gives Robert my number. I get a text that evening. I'll give you a good review on TripAdvisor if you go for a drink with me. There was the time Evo started getting to Sackville Gardens just before the start of my tour. He'd asked the people waiting by Alan, "Are you here for the free tour?" If only Alan could speak and tell them, don't go on that tour! The tour you're waiting for starts here at 11 a.m. I'll start getting to Alan earlier and earlier, playing Manchester music on my Manchester music box. He forced Evo to talk about Alan from afar. That's right, Evo. It's my statue. And I'll sit by my statue as I always do. So one day he's feeling cocky with a group of 50 plus. He's marching up to me saying, today you will get off the bench. No, Evo, sorry. This is where I sit, where I've always sat, at 11 a.m. next to Alan Shawry. We can talk about it some other time if you'd like. No, there is no need to talk. You are being selfish. Let's everyone come look at the statue. Let's show Josh that Manchester is for everyone. A guy from Evo's group grabs my brolly, tossing it aside. Another does the same with my speaker. They can't do this. This is my stuff. A little lady jumps up like a Jack Russell, her hands gripping my lips together. She's saying, you need to shut up. So I push her hand aside, which inspires Evo to say, in English, do you see? Here's a wife beater. A wife beater. And you'll find it's really funny. Forget it. They're just walking tours. Just walking tours. They're just stories told to strangers on street corners in the rain. 6 years after that first tour with Derek, Alan is still contemplating his unbitten apple. The unmaintained flower bed, that's been replaced by a huge statue of a bee. And the warehouse has been converted into apartments I can't afford. Oh, and the sun's out. Because sometimes in Manchester, there is sun. I'm waiting by Alan Shawry. But no one turns up. Come back again the next day, and again, no one. I think about how just last week, people stood here and waited. What brings you to Manchester? And by the exact spot I met Robert. 3 years to the day we met. 3 days since we broke up. Looking at Alan. No offence to the sculptor, the statue isn't very good. It just doesn't look like him. Somehow though, it didn't matter. I know I was probably not in the right headspace, but I felt that day, when I was looking at him, he was really looking at me. As I said, I know it was in my head, but I felt him speaking to me, saying, go on Josh, do the tour. You don't need anyone here, I'll be right behind you. So I did. With empty Sackville Gardens, I started the tour, how I always do. I say that 4 Manchesters have existed, and today we shall talk about an industrial Manchester and a mad Chester. I don't quite declaim, but I do speak aloud. Not to real people, but sort of to Alan. I imagine Alan managed to peel himself off the bench to accompany me to see how the city's changed. Alan and I, we traipsed the cobbled streets, the once busy streets, the back streets, and it was all right. But I don't know, I kind of imagined it was going to be more profound. That stumble on my soul by the Rochdale Canal. But despite feeling sorry for myself, I was dead bored. And I turned to Alan and said, and no offence, but I feel pretty alone. So I head back. But he's there. Evo, I am not in the mood. Evo Delimondo Riviera. He's not doing a tour. He sat on a bench opposite the Midland Hotel, eating a sausage roll, presumably cold. Well, now I can't turn back. No, I don't want him to think I avoid going where he goes, that I'm scared of him. No, but he's won. If I want to go stand outside the Midland Hotel and mumble to myself, then I will stand outside the Midland Hotel and mumble to myself, because that's exactly what I came here to do. Midland Hotel opened in 1908 and it first Well, it's really fancy. Loads of interesting people have stayed there. There's lots. I just want to feel conscious of him. I need to keep doing what I do. Yeah, the actor Jack Howarth actually lived in there when he was in the world's longest running television soap opera, Coronation Street. I'm telling Alan, and Alan's listening. Can you see the second archway along? There's a little monument, two men shaking hands. Yeah, that's Charles Rolls and Henry Boyce. Because it was actually inside that pastry crumbs are dropping from his lips to his belly. His mouth open with fear or pity or surprise. He can't stop me. Does everyone like the eclectic Edwardian prop design? Yeah, well, so did Adolf Hitler. According to one American intelligence officer, Josh. Not now, Alan. According to one American intelligence officer, Josh. You're attracting an audience. St. Peter's Square is no longer empty. But filling up like I've never seen it before. First I see the Corrie-Lamp, swung right to the front, their royalty. Look a bit pissed off actually that Alex Ferguson's Manchester United are cheering for the top of the open top bus. And there's all the scientists, there's James Prescott Joel, Ernest Rutherford, Brian Cox, John Bolton looking on pretty aloof. Oh look, yeah, Martin Engels not having problems rubbing shoulders with Posh and Vex. John and Enriqueta Rylands, the horse and cart. Rolls and Royce have a pretty nice car. Oh, the suffragettes, the Pankhursts, Emily and Christabel and Sylvia standing in the way of Annie Kenny. Bernard Manning and James Anderton. Who invited them? And there's loads of people I don't know the names. Cotton traders, the homeless, the IRA, 80,000 more looking bruised and bleeding, some no longer breathing. Doesn't stop Anthony Wilson, does it? No, he's leading a conga line of full-time ravers, part-time gays and drug dealers. I had enough. You wanted something? Unless you're wanting something, I think I'd just much rather you all go away. But they don't. I had to make them. First it was the Sex Pistols. Hi lads, yeah, that gig people rattle on about wasn't just one gig, was it? Weren't just 40 people. And it didn't change the world, because it was a pop concert. They turn and leave. Oh, hi, Emily, yeah, over here. Yeah, that statue of you, it's got nothing to do with you. It's really just to give Manchester the allure of being radical, despite the fact it's in front of a fucking KPMG office. Maybe relevant, given you did go on to become a crackpot conservative second coming Christian. Not mentioned often that, is it? Oh, Royce, yeah. You didn't really meet inside the Midland Hotel. Just because there's a plaque there doesn't make it so. Why do we keep repeating that? Oh, Mr. Anonymous IRA man, yeah. That postbox, it isn't the one that survived the bomb. You know that as well as I do. Also, you weren't responsible for all the regeneration stuff. All the converted flats at Canal Street, Bridgewater Hall, Commonwealth Games. It was all already underway. It was a bomb. People were scared, lost their businesses, got injured. Marx and Engels, yeah, you wrote the Communist Manifesto mostly in London, not Manchester. Ernest Rutherford, you'd already worked out how to split the atom in Cambridge, not here. Bob Dylan, you'd already gone electric at the Newport Folk Festival. Bernard Manning, fuck off! One by one by one, they turned to leave. Until there's only one. He already looks hurt. But he deserves the truth more than anyone. You were a really talented mathematician. And you were in teams that did important things. You wrote important essays. Boiled down, you're a hero today because we need you. It won't be forever. If I've learned nothing else the last 6 years, it's that Stories of weapons. Guided missiles used to build continents, build relationships, build cities. But in an instant they crumble. And when they crumble, there's little rubble left behind. I'm sorry. I used you. It was just something to earn a little beer money and a hangover, and it got out of hand. Evo's still there. He's finished his sausage roll. He comes up to me and asks, "You all right?" "Am I all right?" I tell him, "I'm feeling a bit funny." He says, "Are you doing a walking tour on your own?" Yeah. I am actually, yeah. "Did you want to join?" So we walk. He tells me he's seen me start the tours for years. His flat looks down at the statue of Alan Turing. He said he recently got a puppy with his boyfriend to accompany him on a tour. I said, "That's weird. I did that recently, a couple of months ago." He said, "I didn't get a dog to copy you, Josh. You don't own the idea of owning a dog." No, I know, but the idea Evo got one to copy me is funny. Apparently, he'd actually emailed me to ask to join as a guide, but I just never applied. He said he finally decided to start the tour after being at that Ariana Grande concert in 2017. Turns out Manchester stories are as much as after all. We go to the Peterloo Massacre Memorial, and we're talking about Mike Lee's film, Peterloo. Evo was also a bit disappointed with it. He says he blogs about films, has done for years. Sounds weird. I once tried to open a boutique cinema in Manchester's northern quarter. He said, "What happened?" "Oh, no." After that, we go to the town hall. I'm saying, like, "First talk more here about the symbolism of the architecture of Alfred Ward's house, or is it more the Mayor Abel Haywood?" He said, "Well, it just depends on the group, doesn't it?" Yeah, you just have to read the vibe. After that, we were at the statue of Abraham Lincoln. Evo said, "It's really strange. We celebrate the sacrifices of people in Lancashire during the American Civil War." I said, "Yeah, exactly. Should we recognise more that Manchester was built on the back of enslaved people?" So he says, "Why then do we keep telling it the way we do?" Because it's the story people want to hear, want me to tell. And it's a good story. "What are you doing? Aren't you going to finish the tour?" He's got a pint of bitter in his hands. I'm not even sure if Derek drinks bitter, he just has a Lancashire accent. I see a cohort of fat, hairy gay men walking towards me. Another squeaking, dressed head to toe in rubber. They're as romanticised and fabricated as the Manchester I sell them at all. I'm not interested. I decide to make an escape via bars and arcade. Then, I do love the idea of Emma Fox and John Ryan coming on one of those fetish tours. Yeah, they'd be tapping them on the shoulder, saying, it's John Edward Taylor, yeah, not James Edward. They wouldn't care. They won't care. They're more concerned about the lad with a bottle of Aldi's own brand pins. And the lad with the pins, he's smiling because he's in a group of so many people. And if there was a language problem, That's all right, because we've got the homeless polyglot. He'd do the rounds speaking all the world's languages. You can't hear him, can you? No, not over the Uruguayan mother. She's telling a group of women from the Dominican Republic, my son scored the try against England. Noel Gallagher arrives with his bassist. There's an Irish woman asks for a selfie, but then, remembering she'd lost her latest iPhone. And Carleen, magical Carleen. If only she knew behind her was Kerry Morrison, and behind Kerry Morrison are all the hecklers and gig-goers and football fans and travellers. The healing pebble crier, the crying for Hong Kong, the crying newborn, Robert. I feel a hand on my shoulder. Without looking, I know who it is. Alan Turing whispers in my ear, all of Manchester is in front of you. There's a third free tour in town now. Set up by a guy who's been on my tour about a dozen times. And that's okay. On his tour, he plays Manchester music on a penny whistle. Another morning I'm in Sackville Gardens. There's parcel tags on all the trees. A story on each of them. I'll read a couple. Each concern a man lost suddenly. Too soon, too young. And I know the name. It's one of the men that took me for coffee. One of the Manchester rubber men. An email. Hi Josh, I'm from the Manchester Kennel Club. You might not have heard of us. We're a group of guys that get together and, well, pretend to be dogs. Though we prefer to be called pups. I was just wondering, would it be possible for us to book a tour